December the 15th, 2024. Guys, it's been a pretty nice afternoon and morning here in central Mississippi. It's been right now it's 72 degrees outside compared to being in the 50s and 60s with these real cold nights. And it's starting to get overcast here. There's rain north of Jackson, Mississippi, going from west to east towards Alabama. But right here, we are just overcast. And what I've got to talk about is, of course, the drone situation. We knew there was something more than we were being told. And I'm not trying to drag this thing out. I'd like to get to the bottom of it. But I think that we're starting to get some professional information in from the people that build some of these very high-tech drones and what they are thinking happening. Now, you're looking right here at the guy that owns and designs and builds Saxon Aerospace drones. Very sophisticated. They look like they're very expensive and they could carry payloads. What he's saying, they're trying to smell something on the ground. CEO of government-backed drone company drops shocking insight on New Jersey crisis, which leaves Joe Rogan alarmed. That's the title of this video. Now, if he's a government-backed drone company, why would he say anything? And we have to keep that in mind. But it continues. It says that Joe Ferguson, the CEO of Saxon Aerospace LLC, he has delivered a bombshell theory on a series of mysterious drone sightings. Ferguson, an expert in the field of unmanned aerial systems, UAS, believes these drones are not operating with nefarious intent, but are likely searching for something critical on the ground. And you've heard a lot of information about car-sized drones and things like that. Check this out. And these rear wings, I've seen these show up in some drone images, and they have navigation lights. That's so they don't want to collide with anybody. But this looks very sophisticated. It says this Saxon Remote Systems, new Viper M10 in Dallas. It says Viper M10 boasts the capability to deliver payloads of up to 10 pounds to designated targets with unparalleled accuracy. And this is a smaller one. You can see this word Saxton at the top. Looks like a very sophisticated camera, very sturdy structure, probably a very well-balanced battery system. And this is kind of like the one we saw in the sheriff's video last night when they were launching drones. They said they couldn't keep up with them. Remember that? But this is some of the stuff he makes. Speaking in a now viral TikTok video, Ferguson shared his professional insights into the growing phenomenon, speculating that this unmanned aerial vehicles, the UAVs, are part of a classified operation aimed at recovering a nuclear warhead that allegedly disappeared in Europe and could be en route to the United States. So we're seeing, it makes sense, we're seeing drones coming from off the water. Coast Guard are reporting. We haven't seen any images, but if it was government drones doing this, the Coast Guard would not show any images, and more than likely they have stopped talking about it as soon as it came out that they saw those. Because if this is true, it would be very on the down low, because they don't want people to panic. They want to have time to do what they've got to do or bring about any nefarious reactions that they think are necessary. I wanted to give all my opinion on what I think would be going on with these drones. I don't particularly believe that these have a nefarious intent. I could be wrong, he said, but I want to give you the truth and what I believe. In my own opinion, I have not bounced this off of anybody. So if you think it's BS, whatever, that's cool. I don't want to spread misinformation, as we know there's a lot of that going around. Ferguson linked the sightings to a shocking claim that the disappearance of 80 nuclear warheads from Ukraine after the collapse of the Soviet Union. That was back in the Reagan days, guys. According to Ferguson, these weapons have never been fully accounted for, and at least one of them may have been headed towards the U.S., may be here now. Now, this may be as close as we can get to the truth, and he may be telling us just enough. But anyway, he's recounted, and this is Ferguson, a conversation with a government insider who had physically handled one of the missing warheads, only to see his warnings ignored by the U.S. authorities. Now, Ferguson continues. He says, back in the 1980s, Ronald Reagan had dismantled the nuclear program with Russia. There were countless nuclear missiles that were disarmed and disposed of. Well, there were over 80, I believe he said, there were over 80 nuclear warheads that were in Ukraine that came up missing. He said, we don't know where they are. Maybe somebody does, but nobody really knows where these are. I speak with some pretty high-level government officials on this stuff. It seems as though this is the case. Now, again, we've got to keep this thing real. If you were building things for the government and had a contract with them, and you had that type of security certification, then why would you even be bringing this up? We just got to keep it real. But again, I think we may be very close to what's happening here, but that still concerns me. Trust no one until you dig all the way down to the bottom of the pit. I spoke to a gentleman a few months ago, this is Ferguson continuing, he says, who was trying to raise an alarm to the highest levels of our government, which they had their ears closed, kind of like at the border, about this one particular nuclear warhead that he physically put his hands on. He physically touched the warhead that was left over from Ukraine, and he knew that the thing was headed towards the U.S. This is a very serious deal, and everyone knows that the U.S. government, this administration, is pushing to get into a war with Russia. That very clause at the end of that sentence, pushing to get into a war with Russia, may be why he is breaking his silence. We all know that. We all feel it. We all see it. We will be back up in a few years. Ferguson linked these sightings to earlier reports of unidentified drones along the Interstate 70 corridor, stretching from Colorado to Missouri. Now, remember that we talked about this a couple of nights ago in a video that, was it last year or year before, all of the drone sightings, flying patterns over in Colorado? Anyway, at that time, it was believed those drones were searching for missing radioactive materials within the U.S. And before that had happened, there was reports of Russian-speaking troops all through the Colorado area. And when you have that type of influence, you can easily see why the leaders, the governors, the mayors, things like that, attorney generals, are lip-tarded, because there's something going on. And when I say lip-tarded, that's not a very nice statement when I'm talking about being a traitor to our country. Now, we talked about in the last video, guys, a lot of copycat drone owners, and it's not illegal to have them unless you're in a no-fly zone around a lot of people, a stadium, a football game, or airport, and like I said before, at the Grand Canyon, because they have the tour helicopters and other things. But if they were doing that, that may be why we see a lot of the smaller drones kind of divert from that pattern of this type of drone that you're seeing in these images. Ferguson continues, he said, now with new sightings near New Jersey and along the East Coast, Ferguson suggests this may be part of a larger, secretive government operation to locate the missing warhead. Do you all remember, and this is him, when those drones were mysteriously flying across the Interstate 70 corridor from Colorado up in Nebraska down into Kansas and out in Missouri? That's what I was talking about earlier. You could see it on YouTube. These drones were flying grid patterns. Well, he said, well, it is believed that those drones were looking for radioactive material because there had been some material that came up missing here in the U.S. And there was an airplane that actually was flying and supposedly didn't know it was had a nuclear bomb on it at one time. Anyway, they felt like it was a high probability that the nuclear or the radioactive material would be taken along the Interstate 70 corridor heading east or west or south. From what we understand, they were out there trying to find this radioactive material. Now, again, the government, just kind of look back a few days, they're saying they don't want to shoot it down because they don't know what the content is. Now, that would be a way of protecting the drones that are scanning for any radiation. And it would also be a way for, in case they had an Iranian mothership with these type drones. And actually, Iran has very larger drones and sophisticated ones also. But in case they were coming in We had drones out over the ocean, but we were watching not only onshore, but offshore for a drone coming in that was capable of a lot of destruction. And that's why they were searching the Interstate 70 corridor, heading east or west or south. From what we understood, he said they were out there trying to find this radioactive material. The CEO further explained that the specific use of drones at night, equipped with advanced sensing technologies, suggests they are being used for specialized tasks such as intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. And he had dismissed the idea that these drones were like commercial drones that operate like farming or delivery or something like that. And he said, no, they don't operate in the daylight. I mean, at nighttime, they operate in the day so that you can see, and all this is happening at night. He said, now drones have no reason to be in the air at night unless you're doing some type of ISR work, the intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, looking for bad guys or looking for a victim, a search and rescue victim, or law enforcement, or some type of military project. There's no reason for a drone to be flying at night, really, because they don't see much. I'm not going to say what it's written, unless you have thermal optics, which of course they would have thermal optics. Drones really don't see stuff. You need to do mapping during the day. If you're going to do farming stuff, mostly do it during the day. And that's where they can come in and be very specific with any type of spraying or whatever they're doing. But he says that's daytime work. This is nighttime undercover. The only reason they would fly an unmanned aircraft at night is if you're looking for something, whether it be a person or trying to smell a gas. We have methane gas detection systems that can detect gas leaks and pipelines. You really wouldn't use thermal optics for trying to find these gas leaks, just simply because the only way you're actually going to find them is with the thermal optics. With thermal optics is if the gas leak is aggressive enough that it had a difference in temperature, you'd see it. Because radiothermal imaging, it creates a digital image based off the temp of the variance, and that's what they would be looking for. So whatever is different in temperature, it creates this image. Usually gas leaks so slow that it goes quickly into ambient before you can even see it. So we have special sensors that can detect gas leaks. But I think he was right with the first assumptions, and I'm going to show you why in just a few moments. And guys, just think about it. I know I'm going to repeat myself here, but we have to understand the circumstances. Now, we do know there's a new administration in, and we do know this could be very dangerous to our country. Maybe another Paul Revere, someone standing up in the face of adversity. Ferguson explained that the type of drones observe multiple copters rather than fixed-wing aircraft. They're limited in range due to their battery life and operational capabilities. And that's right, but remember, his drones were fixed-wing aircraft, and some of the ones we're seeing. Given these limitations, Ferguson hypothesizes that the drones are being launched from unknown locations, somewhere within the U.S., and are flying low to the ground for a specific purpose, sniffing out substances such as gas leaks or radioactive material. Now, some of you guys that have been with us for a long time have seen this map, and if you remember, and we still sell these radiation meters, that's not why I'm doing this video, but if you got one, you could come in and sign in with these folks, and it's called the Real-Time Radiation World Map. You can back it up and look at anywhere on the planet. Anyway, you could sign up with them, and you could go USB with your radiation meter, and yours would actually come up somewhere on this map. Now, let's zoom in here to New York and New Jersey, where we're seeing the most of these sightings. Now, here's New York, this is Long Island, of course, New Jersey is just south of here. And we've got some pretty high readings. Notice over here in your CPM counts, you've got green is 0 to 50. 50 to 100 is kind of a pale green. 100 to 200 counts per minute is a yellow, and then over 200 CPM red because it's dangerous. And anything really above 50 CPM you wouldn't want to deal with very long. Now, we do have that happening. So this guy may be dead on, and he's thinking, and maybe he's been contacted by some of the upcoming administration to come forward that he would be protected. I don't know. It's just speculation. We're looking at New York now. We have 4 alerts that are above 200 CPM in the red. Let's pull this up right here. There's a Home Depot right here, guys. This is New York. I guess that would be at the very western tip of Long Island. And there's a Dyker Heights. Anyway, 276 we're getting right here. We're getting 250. This is at Bay Highway and Kings Highway right there. Seth Low Playground for you guys in that area. I've never been up in this section of New York. And if we go a little further north, right here before the bridge in Lower Manhattan, and if they were going to try, we've seen the movies, and they like to hit, again, the movies. But we can't forget 911 and what happened, regardless of who did it. They hit this section. Right here, coming off the bridges, would be Highway 78, right there, New Jersey, New York line. And we have coming down 12th Street, or the interstates here, 78, and then headed south, this would be, we got something here at the Alaris Health in Hamilton Park, right here. This is Brunswick and 10th, 9th Street's here, and this is Monmouth Street right there. But we got a 222 right there, and let's see what else we got in the area where we're seeing the most drones. Right up here, this is Central Park, and this would be concerning because of what we've seen in the last several years, guys. It is every one of these is unknown, by the way. That's how it's listed. But we're getting a CPM of 700. This is today. Look at the timestamp right there. 12:15 this afternoon, Eastern Time, this report. And let's kind of get closer. Central Park, man. I don't want to foresee anything and speak it into happening. But this is the kind of things that we're looking for, what is going on. And if our government's doing that, that's a good thing. But we also realize there's a lot of people that would like to see World War III happen, like a change with the elections and war control, United Nations armies, things like that. Guys, we're watching it. Please be very careful. Make your preparations, what you can do in a situation like this. I wouldn't be hanging out in Central Park, and I wouldn't be hanging out at any of these places. Right here across the bridge again, Newport Center. There's a Target over there, 222. You're in the red there. And then these two at the very western end of Long Island. Right there. 21st. Kings Highway right there, guys. You know what we're talking about. Anyway, I'll put a link to the article. I'll put a link to this map. And it's updated every time somebody sends in some information. We're watching it, but guys, pay very close attention. Keep your Father in heaven, our Father in heaven, in your mind on it every step you take. What you'll see happening is you'll have to concentrate a little bit. Now, I slip away from it just like everybody else does with the worldly concerns around us. But every time you can focus and keep him in mind and say, Father, guide me in this day of troubles as we walk through this valley, the shadow of death, not death, the shadow of it, the frightening, the fear of it. Now, this particular map doesn't not have a lot of information about Japan, but if you just type in radiation maps from around the world, you can see that some of them indicate a lot of information coming out of the Fukushima area. But I will put a link to it, guys. This is a real-time radiation world map. Use it, zoom in wherever you need to. Notice here in South America, you've got something going on down there. Could be anything, don't know yet. But this is very concerning, and we have now up along the Canadian border, North Dakota here, we've got a reading. Let's see if it'll come back. It just popped off. It was over 200. Anyway, these are remaining, the ones in New York. This will be linked. Guys, it's a heads up. Be safe.